So when we were beginning on this project to make the P90 magazine, there was the idea to use this gel ball blaster and put the magazine inside of this and a marker inside and use this on a platform. Instead of what some people are doing, is buying an airsoft replica of the P90 and kind of heavily modify it so it will fit on the marker inside, things like that. This would be more a budget version to do that, so since this type of, let's say, replica is cheaper. It's also all made of plastic, and it's just a plastic shell. The reason why we did not go for this one at first, and maybe still don't do, is it may not handle paintball so well, the shell. It's kind of on the edge, like is it strong enough or is it too weak? At the same time, also the magazine, when you take like a Tokyo Marui P90 magazine and you want to fit it inside, at first this opening at let's say the riser was a bit tight. If you use a knife and kind of scrape some sides away in the inside, so you got a little bit more of an opening, so it's easy to fit it in, then it will work. Another idea can also be to put a little space at the top of here, so the shell gets a little bit wider at the top, so you get a little bit better opening. Because this is really small, so you cannot put too much material away, otherwise it would probably get way too weak. So that was a thing, and the other elephant in the room is if you try to insert the magazine inside of it. At first it's also a little bit tight at the front, but you can escape that a little bit away with some sanding. That's not really the issue. But the thing is, as you can see, the magazine cannot sit in place. It's, this space is a lot shorter than the airsoft magazines will be. And since the P90 magazine for paintball is based on Tokyo Marui dimensions of the magazine, that one will also not fit. It's that simple. You get the same issue. Remember that when you clamp the shell down with the screws, it goes in easier, more easy than now. But the shell is not totally clamped down now, it's all loose. But you see, it's the same thing. So this is a prototype magazine with the head removed, and as you can see, then you can fit it in. So what I will try is to make a mold you can put around this shape, so you know precisely what you need to cut away, and then make a 3D printed mounting plate for the magazines that you can slide in place and glue in place. I don't know precisely how we're going to do it, but that's at least the idea of it. If this will work, we will see. It will be a destructive mod on this shell, so I got only one chance basically on it to do it. But I've already modeled something. I think I got some working design for it. But yeah, that's the reason at first where we did not do this, and we moved over to, let's say, just modify the parent eclipse marker that he had, and to make that one look like a P90. Also to just make it more easy for him to switch over to a different magazine if the P90 magazine would fail or not feed right. In the beginning we did not know if it would work at all or things like that. So yeah, this one is of course more closely to the P90 than of course the Planet Eclipse mods that I made. Like this one. It's a lot taller than of course this thing is. If you compare it to the Tokyo Marui P90, it's still some things are different. You know, this wrist part is smaller and has some different details. But realistically, when you hold it, you probably will not notice it. So if you want to go for more like a realistic P90 look, you don't mind to mold or mark inside, so you really want to go that route, you can probably definitely try this one out, because this is all plastic, so it's really easy to cut off this fake barrel, so you can place a barrel inside. You got a compartment in the back to replace the batteries if you use an electronic marker, or maybe put an Allen key to adjust the velocity, depending on how you what type of marker you use. So as you can see, the slide door is gone. I don't know where it is anymore, but it's yeah, just a small sliding door. When you open it up, it looks like this inside. So yeah, it's pretty thin, but that's what you can work with on the inside. It's not really much. Maybe you want to reinforce some parts with hot glue or whatever you want to do. It has been a while that I opened this P90 up and the parts, but I still have the trigger. Of course, somewhere here, I think here below, there will be a spring that pushes the trigger forward. Originally it had like an electric sensor that will detect when you press the trigger. So that will be all inside and go something like there. The safety is functional. You can just turn the safety, and when you turn the safety, there is a little hook at the back, and it will go around the trigger, so it will lock the trigger in place. So that's a benefit of it. By going with this route, you can have enough safety like the P90 have, more or less. It's a little bit different, but at the same time it's kind of on the same location. So you got your trigger, and then you can just turn this piece with your finger to engage the safety, or think like this. Yeah, then it's locked. Of course the spring will put the trigger always forward. So that's how that will work. It's kind of to give you an idea of it. All the other parts I don't show because they are not relevant for paintball users anyways. They are for gel ball, so it's not... I hope this already kind of shows you a little bit what you can expect when you would buy this this replica for the project. About the opening, you can already see like what's white, the white lines you see in the inside. That's kind of what I use a knife for, to kind of put it more in an angle like this, so it's more easy to put that magazine in. So you don't have to be totally precise in the middle to make it slide in. You can put it a little bit in the angle, and then it kind of guides itself in. So as you can see, it's not too bad. There's room, but you can imagine a little bit wider compared like what the airsoft model had and what I did with the paintball versions for the penalty clips line. It's nice when it's a little bit more wide, then you can put it more easily in without having to fight the precise angle how to fit it in. And that's it. Besides that, these are the markings on it. I really like this. It's brilliant. It's so wrong. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This assembly, I've never seen how it works, but it was different than a P90. It was, for what I understand, was just a push button, and it would slide only one way and release the magazine or something like that. But I've never seen how that really works, and it's not relevant because this part really needs to be modified and cut away to basically place this assembly inside of here, but then of course lower, and that's what you really need to do. So this would not be relevant anyways. Also, something you may notice is when you hear me holding it, you may hear it making noise, things like that. I think when you really clamp the shell down, that's not that big of an issue. When it's all clamped down, it becomes more sturdy, you know. But yeah, it is definitely is not a high budget body by any means. But at the same time, I think it doesn't look that bad. You know, the trigger, you can clearly see it's a molded trigger. It's not really a solid piece to look at or something like that. But that can be small pieces you could make yourself with 3D printer and kind of refine if you would like. But that is all the time. At the same time, if I can especially imagine when you would spray paint something like this, it would look really nice, and it got some texture to it, so it's really not too bad of a body to use, in my opinion. So we will see how this project will go, and maybe it will be nice. One thing I will say, I will probably not make a marker inside of this. So I will only go about how to make this magazine fit inside of this body and the locking mechanism. And I leave it up to you guys yourself to find the marker that you want to fit inside of this. That's kind of the goal of this project, that you kind of have a platform that's not too expensive to buy. At least to use the P90 magazines inside, so you can kind of have them really, let's say, a realistic P90 look on the paintball field. Also keep in mind there are already a lot of people have put a paintball marker in an airsoft P90, so if you want to have inspiration about that, I would recommend just looking on the internet and kind of see what other people have done. The only thing I will be showing in this video is really like that this magazine will fit inside of this body, and how to do that, how to make the mounting plate for it, and all the rest is up to you to figure out and kind of go wild on that one. So the next step for the RUNQI conversion, let's call it, is to place this template on it. I may change the design a little bit because you can already kind of see that those two parts, they were kind of, maybe better to show it this way. I printed it in this direction, and at a certain point you have only this small part and this small part, and they start moving a lot. So you get a lot of those lines. But I must say, when you use something like a raft, that I did use in this case because I kind of wanted to make it stay sturdy on there, because it's just small. Yeah, it will print, but it will not look pretty at all. But it works. I did notice that I need to make it a little bit taller, but I will adjust that for you guys, and I will just use some measurements so I don't have to waste some more plastic on something that's not really necessary. But I did notice, and that's maybe because of the print defects. Yeah, I think probably it is when I look at it. The shell kind of likes to be loose, but I happened to have one screw in here that doesn't want to get out. So I did turn this one closed, so the body can, yeah, I can close the body here so it's not really open. Otherwise the back part would not want to install. But you can just install it. There's a little bit of an, let's say, a ridge here that will fall in this rounding shape here, rounded shape. And you can kind of click it in place. Be careful when removing the supports. Mine broke a little bit when removing the supports, but you can click it in place. Then you have basically the shape of the part that you will be printing and placing inside of it. So now you can use a knife or maybe a ballpoint pen, something like that, to mark the lines around here. And then you take away everything that's inside of this line that you place. And that's all you do with this shape. I think I will use some pencil. I've used this before on the white plastic. It works really well. If you have different colors you may not like it, but with the texture and so a normal, this is the type of lead that's inside. Normal, kind of the regular, will work fine. And if you use like a small point like I have right now, then it's really easy to go next to the plastic, so you got an accurate line going on. And in your case you can just go, when you push this down, just go against the plastic. The problem I have right now, because it's a little bit too short, is that the problem that I have right now is that the rounded shape is still sticking out, and I kind of wanted to be underneath this shape, so I can totally remove this one and don't have to worry about this shape anymore. So I need to make it a little bit longer, so I go past that shape, and then I don't have to worry about it anymore. But yeah, that's it. Now it's just a matter of taking away this plastic and continue from there. Okay, then you will fit this thing inside and use a hammer, smash it back, and you're done. Now, of course, this is not the good model, but yeah, after we've done this drawing thing, I recommend that you use a saw for, let's say, this side and this side. It's more easy to go straight. Then using Dremel with a disc cutter and use the sides. Then what I used was some pliers that you use normally for filament, and just cut away, let's say, those things here on the inside. So it's more easy to kind of bend this a little bit and take it out. So now, technically, you should be able to fit in a magazine. Yeah. So that's one step. Now, of course, it's up to me to print the parts that will actually mount this in the body. And I slightly have to modify a little bit the main part, you could say, the lower part. Let's say this part right here. I kind of have to modify it. So try to find some places where I can, let's say, hook it in the body. So it's more than just some glue that holds it in. So something like this here. I'm maybe gonna use that part to hook it in place so it's more stable in there. But yeah, we will see how it will go. But it looks promising. Only the sad part is I think that this sentence is no longer on there. This found it kind of funny. Ta-da! It fits. Did need two attempts, but yeah, now it aligns well. Keep in mind the shell is still loose, so it doesn't really like to click in because it's tight to be in the first place. But when the shell is clamped, it can now fit in place. So technically, it's now possible to insert the marker inside of this, and this portion is working, the top, so it's feeding. Just cut off the fake barrel and yeah, go ahead and make it work, I would say. But I will show, of course, how this portion is working. And I've also found the bag with the parts, so I can show a little bit what's included when you buy this RUNQI gel ball blaster. So you may see some parts like, oh okay, if I do the electric wiring a little bit different, I can use that already for a trigger, things like that. But this is how it will fit in place. As you can see, there is a pin here that kind of hold it in place, and here in the back. And of course there are a lot of lines, and there are some shapes in there, so it kind of slides in place there. How you will go finally about it, using glue, things like that on one side, so you can open it up and take it apart, it's kind of up to you, but just sliding it in like this and clamp it down, the shell should already kind of work in this stadium. So in that regard, it's really promising. Of course, for the activator, you also need to insert a little, I think it was an M2 bolt right here. I will show you in the picture how high this needs to be. I don't tell this in the video. It's more clear if I show the picture, like how high you need to make it and what type of bolt. To install the top cap that will house this locking tab, you need to unscrew 2 screws. When you unscrew the 2 screws, you can see that I use just 2 springs to put this slide in. Technically you can use 3 springs, but I've only used 2 springs with all the models I've done. And with this size of spring, it feels yeah, nice and secure. Not too tight, you know, it's in good balance. But if you want to play around with one stronger spring or 3 weaker springs, it's all up to you. You can play around with it. And again, you can just slide the one in, put the springs in there, put this top piece on, push it a little bit back if it doesn't want to get in there, and just screw it down and you're done. The way I've made it, it's just a small yeah, plateau, you could say, and you could place the marker underneath it. If you want to make it different, there's a step valve included, so you can modify that valve to maybe give it a little bit more feedback, or maybe put some shape in there for the barrel to pass through or something like that. You can modify it. Of course, you can also use an iron to modify it a little bit with heat, you know. It depends on your skill and what needs to be done, I guess. Okay, not that I have all the parts of the gel blaster, because I did not get all the parts from the one I was getting this gel blaster from, but I will try to assemble it the way it should be, and we will see how that goes. It will be something like this. On the other shell there's a proper housing to mount this switch, but you can see you already got a micro switch there. So if you would rewire the wires and put it to, let's say, another electric marker, then you already got the trigger assembly done. I don't see the spring anymore, but there was a spring, of course, pushing the trigger forward. That's pretty much it. So I can imagine that you will not using the gel ball barrel, the battery as well, I guess, and the engine. It's probably not something you will use, probably only the safety and the trigger, and maybe mount a metal bar there, or use electric wiring with the micro switch. So yeah, that's about with the triggers. I've also found the door for the back. It's held in with a screw in the middle. If you turn that one out, you can slide the door out. Nothing too crazy there. Okay, not that I consider TPX to be the most fitting platform for this, because of how the remote line would be. It would be sticking out from the back in your shoulder. So I don't think it's a good idea. Otherwise I might in the future make a gearbox for it that is 3D printable, on housing at least for it, where you can put in the TPX parts. But size wise, let's put it upside down. Let's say that the BB's feet from this angle, so the length wise you got enough space, that's not a problem. How I made it with the other, the FGC68, I have made a gearbox that you could remove all this part, so that's not a problem. The only thing I really think it's not getting too wide, so it can technically fit. The only thing is how the remote line is sitting, is that it wants to get out this way. So you may, yeah, actually I think it's possible. So maybe in the future we'll make an gearbox for this, that will put the remote line light here and then bend it down. Probably a tight fit, but it technically should be possible when I look at it. And yeah, that could be one way, of course. Again, look around on the internet, a lot of people have put already a marker in a P90 body. So if that isn't real airsoft body, or let's say the gel ball blaster, it should not matter too much about that. And at the same time, this is like plastic, so it's easier to modify than, let's say, the metal airsoft edition, where this will be like some type of aluminium. Of course, that will be, it should be at least stronger, but cast aluminium is usually not so strong. It's rather a lot brittle, but yeah, it's still beats flexible plastic. But when you tie it all back down, it should be fine, I guess. So yeah, that was maybe more a teaser to see the idea that it's possible to mount the TPX inside of here. But do keep in mind, in case you want to already make a shell of that yourself to put inside of there, the TPX is really a violent shooter. So this shell will get a lot of a beating. So make the 3D printed shell therefore also really strong, so it's all absorbed in the body, and make it really secure inside of here. In one way or form you're going to do that, because it will otherwise, and print it solids. If you print and if you design, if you take my step files for the body I already made, modify that before I do, make it printed solid, because it otherwise will burst into pieces where you're holding it. So that needs to be strong. Don't underestimate that, because TPX is a violent shooter again. So do want to warn about that. But besides that, go surprise me, I guess, with what type of markers you're going to place inside of there, and have fun with it. So now I've put all the screws back in, and it definitely makes it a lot solid. Still, if you really want to try, you can make it squeak, so that's that. But the safety, the only thing is there's not really a detent in it or something like that, so it's possible to accidentally turn it on safe when you don't want to, but besides that it works. This is when it's not on safe, and when it's on safe the trigger cannot move, so that's or a tiny bit, but you will notice it. And when you use your finger you can turn it on safe or not. So that's really nice about it. But the thing that I did mention before is like the magazine, this opening is kind of tight. So as you can see, this airsoft mag can fit inside of it. But especially when you modify it a little bit again, with that it's kind of a little bit wider in the opening, but it is more inviting for the magazine to get in. But that's definitely a thing to note compared with this. You can see it doesn't matter. In that regard, the size is the same. It's only the front part maybe needs a little bit more of a push. It's a little bit tighter here on the front. But yeah, then it's nice, secure in place. And this one doesn't have the screw already in place, so it doesn't really push the magazine up like that. But besides that, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's it. So in that regard, it's really nice, and yeah, I'm really curious to see what you guys will be doing with it, and maybe in the future when I got some plastic again, and I'm in the mood and I got some time for it. That's especially the thing. Then I might want to make an TPX gearbox housing for this system, but for now I will keep it like this. Oh yeah!